They say life is the journey, not the destination. And being a photographer, being a photographic artist is much the same. How do we keep those passions burning when we're only as good as our last great shot? Well, part of that is this very journey here. Let's explore.
G'day everybody, how are you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope that you are super well. Well, here I am in sunny Canberra. Over my left shoulder here, this is Parliament House. This is where it all goes on. Well, maybe, sometimes. I think they actually only sit for about half of the year. They don't sit there that often, those politicians. You know, they've got to hang out with their constituents. So they're only here some of the time. Over my right shoulder here is the National Gallery of Australia, which is where the Jeffrey Smart exhibition is right now. A lot of people might think that Sydney is the capital of Australia, but actually Canberra is. This is where the federal government resides. And Canberra is not the biggest place. It's actually quite small from a population perspective. What they tried to do was place it between Melbourne and Sydney, although it is much closer to Sydney. It's roughly 2 hours drive from Sydney. And well, we're just about to embark upon the 6.5 to 7 hour drive home. That's if we don't stop. We're going to be doing about 650, 700 kilometres. It's a big drive, but I'm really happy to have just had a few days away. This is my first travel out of my home state of Victoria since 2019. So due to the global pandemic, I haven't left my home state in almost 3 years, or 3 years. I'm not sure of the exact date. In 2019 I last went anywhere. Could be 3 years or more. So it's been super exciting. I've gone away with one of my best mates, Edward, and we brought the scooters and we scooted around, and that was a lot of fun. Now, if I was going to choose one of those two places to go to, Parliament House is pretty cool, but the gallery is even cooler, and the Jeffrey Smart exhibition was so good. And as I've said before, Jeffrey Smart is one of my favourite artists of all time. And something that I find quite interesting about Jeffrey Smart's work and his eye is that I find that we see the world in a very similar way. And now reading about his method and what inspired him, I actually more than ever feel that we see the world in a similar way. Jeffrey Smart is an artist that I probably first saw his work, like one piece of his work, actually in the concert hall in Melbourne. And it was this long train in the outback. And I had no idea who this artist was. And that was it. That was the first and last time I saw his work, and it was only probably something like 10 or 15 years ago that I started to work out who he was, because his amazing artworks had started to be reproduced and appearing in the galleries around Melbourne. And from that point on, I started to understand who he was, what his body of work was, and the fact that he existed. By being here and seeing Jeffrey Smart's work in the National Gallery of Australia, I learnt some amazing things about him. When he went out in the world, he would see shapes, geometry, colour, and he'd go, okay, I've just seen this moment, and that's absolutely made my day. I've got my composition. And that's super exciting, and it really reminds me of my journey and my experience when I'm shooting. I sort of have the same sort of response. I'll see a moment of colour, shape, geometry, perspective, texture, light, and that makes my day. And I will know in the moment that is something very worthy. So it's super exciting to me that he has that same reaction. He sees a moment and then he wants to work out how to best portray it. As artists, and as photographic artists especially, this is what we do. We see moments and then we've got to try and decide how to tell that story best. And I think for all of us, I think for me, the fact that I've found in Jeffrey Smart a kindred spirit, and in no way am I saying I am of his level. That's not what I mean by this, but it's lovely to know that his process and my process, well, we have a similar process. And look, it makes sense. We're both visual people, we both live in the modern age, and we're both dealing in visual mediums. And there's only so much within that spectrum that we're all going to do to achieve our outcomes. So he is a kindred spirit from my perspective. And it's really good to know that I'm not alone. It's a really cool and exciting thing. So I think for you, your work, you know in your heart what you are most passionate about. And I think it's critical as artists and as craftspeople that we know the subject matter that we're passionate about. And once we master the technical, and in this case we're talking about photography, that's just the first chapter of our journey. From then on, it's about exploring our passions and just pushing the envelope and the boundaries of those passions in every direction we possibly can. And that to me is just critical. We as artists need to go out and explore beyond just the technical. If in your passion, your subject matter, you can find a kindred spirit, I just think it's really good to know that you're not alone. Because life is a long journey, and certainly in my more than 30 years of doing this, sometimes you wonder, am I chasing something? Is this crazy? Is this worthy? Should I be doing it? And then you see a kindred spirit and you see that they've had a great journey with it, and you go, I'm not alone. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want to be, not alone. So with your art, if you don't feel you've got a kindred spirit yet, maybe it's worth casting your eye, casting your net out to the world and seeing if they're out there. And then maybe being inspired by their journey will help you with your journey.
Every single artist and every single person is different. So my images are not the same as Jeffrey Smart. But in this collection that I've put together for this video, these are some of the images from the last 12 or so months that I think fit best what I'm trying to describe. I have always seen the world this way. I don't know what it is. I like the colours. I like the juxtaposition. I like the fact that they look silly and out of place, and that brings a smile to my face. I like the fact that when you find these bold things, they kind of look a little bit surreal, a little bit hyper-real, and I have always loved trying to create images that look a little bit surreal. That's a real joy to me, that if we can make photography, if we can make the viewer of the photography question just a little bit, what am I looking at here? Is this a painting or is it real?
So I'd like to thank you all for joining me on this journey. It's a little bit of a road trip, it's a little bit of a philosophical adventure, and it's a little bit about learning perhaps what may well be a kindred spirit for you as well. There it is right there. That is the National Gallery of Australia. If you happen to be in town, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, anywhere in Australia, anywhere in the world, the exhibition's running, I think, until May, mid-May of this year, and well worth the journey if you're into the art. I'll put a link below so you can have a look at the National Gallery of Australia's website. But I just love his work. I think he's spectacular, and I do think he had a very photographic eye. Please let me know in the comments below, what's your journey? What's your passion? And do you have any kindred spirits out there in the art world that inspire you, that you think you see the world in a similar way? I would love for us all to share who inspires and motivates us as we go through our artistic journey. If this is your first time here, I would love to see you again. So please do subscribe, please share, and please like, and I'll see you very soon. All right, bye for now.